A few months ago, I watched Star Wars The Force Awakens in theaters. I was excited, but after watching it, I felt, well, odd. Then it hit me. Is Star Wars The Force Awakens up to par with the expectations set by Star Wars A New Hope? In order to find the answer, I looked at the facts first. I first looked at the ticket sales. An article in the Southland Times says The Force Awakens earned almost $250 million in ticket sales opening weekend alone. That may seem like a lot of people, but it isn't. The Force Awakens ranked as the #1 ticket selling film in history, but that was based on the prices, not the number of tickets. Since comparing ticket sales didn't work, I then examined Roger Ebert's thoughts of the films. Ebert wrote in his review over Star Wars A New Hope, "What makes the Star Wars experience unique is that it happens on such an innocent and funny level. There's entertainment so simple that the complications of the modern movies seem to vaporize. A New Hope didn't need complex techniques. It only needed a good storyline, dialogue, and characters to impress its audience." Fast forward, and Roger Ebert died in 2013. He couldn't critique the newest Star Wars, however, he did elect Gerardo Valero before he passed to represent his views. Valero expressed his opinions of The Force Awakens when he wrote the action sequences in Episode 7 are well made, but the prior ones are more exciting. Also, the audience was much more emotionally invested. Similar to Ebert, Valero pointed out that the action sequences, or the complications of the modern film, did not make the film amazing. Abrams missed this concept in his Star Wars film by creating many plot holes in his story. One such example was why Princess Leia would send a stranger to fetch Luke from his decade-long isolation. Wouldn't she want to go herself to see her brother? Wouldn't she want to tell him that his friend and her husband just died? Along with the action sequences, CGI or computer-generated imagery added to the visual aesthetics of a film, but nothing more. Ebert wrote, "The movie works so well for several reasons, and they don't all have to do with the spectacular special effects. The effects are good, yes, but great effects have been used in other movies." Star Wars A New Hope was the first film to incorporate CGI with live action, but with that put aside, the film still delivered an excellent experience. Ebert said there is more to A New Hope than the at that time amazing special effects. In March, I conducted an interview with Andrew Coombs, who is a teacher at a local high school. He instructs several different classes, including film as literature and different levels of English. When asked about his opinions of CGI's role in both modern and older films, Coombs stated the technology has obviously improved, which has helped many films, but some rely too much on CGI and not enough on the story. This statement further proved the point that CGI was not everything. In The Force Awakens, Abrams melded spectacular CGI technology and created characters like Maz Kanata. However, he did not further the CGI by adding a quality background. For example, the audience still has no idea how Maz Kanata got a hold of Skywalker's lightsaber before he left. This is yet another example of a plot hole in The Force Awakens. Back in the 20th century, whenever a huge story made the newspapers, people ran to newsboys because it is in our very nature to be drawn towards an exciting story. The same nature is still there today. Coombs explained when you have a good script and good story like The Hateful Eight or Casablanca, the time period doesn't matter. It's the characters, dialogue, and plot that make those films great. At first, the audience may have been in awe from the visual effects, but after a while, it was the storyline that resonates in their minds. With an engaging storyline, great films like Casablanca, The Breakfast Club, and even Star Wars A New Hope left a lasting impact on its audiences that are passed on to generations and generations. On the flip side, a poor script or even copying a script from the past can cause a film to go up in smoke. This was what happened to Abrams' The Force Awakens. Charles Gallagher wrote in an article, "To be sure, The Force Awakens is very similar to the 1977 films. Small wonder that a few critics saw it as little more than a warmed-over retelling of A New Hope, which in many respects it certainly is." From the opening scene of a spaceship battle, an orphan from a desert planet, and a droid holding the balance of the universe in its databanks, The Force Awakens was almost a complete replica of A New Hope. Abrams probably thought that if the storyline worked the first time, then it worked the second time. Sadly, this was not true. Valero explained the new leads in Episode 7 are interesting enough, but the film's main problem is that it never provides them with a worthy original story to justify going back to this universe. The biggest mistake for films today is that they take scripts from the past and reuse them instead of building onto them. To conclude, Stephanie Zackaritz posed the question, when you've been charged with reviving one of the most obsessively beloved franchises, is it better to defy expectations or to meet them? With The Force Awakens, Abrams splits the difference and in the end is perfectly adequate. But why settle for adequacy? We all have expectations of films that we know. That is what Abrams meant with The Force Awakens. Nevertheless, his film still failed. It's those subconscious goals that we don't even know we have that Abrams failed to accomplish. So the question is it better for films to only satisfy the known needs of the audience or to break expectations in order to be extraordinary?
Created using Powtoon.